It's something of a cliche that the weather in England is gloomy and gray most of the time, so to show up at a wet and dreary Silverstone seems rather fitting. Get your wellies on. It's time to hunker down for the PCA Sim Racing Series 13 Sport Class, and you'll see it all live here on RaceSpotTV. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Justin Prince. Behind the scenes is our director, Ramiro Cisneros. Now, we're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor and as the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13. They provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. PCA is also proud to announce that they are celebrating their 70th anniversary in 2025. Here's to many more decades with North America's largest Porsche enthusiast group. Well, if we get a chance to look at the schedule here, Justin, it's pretty clear that we've had an interesting variety of tracks.
Yes, we've had rafting tracks, we had more technical circuits. Now we're moving to the more historical portion of the calendar, you could argue, with Silverstone and Road America in this next stretch. It's going to be an interesting night, to say the very least, though, when you factor in the potential of weather conditions, because it's one of those rainy races on that schedule. It's going to really impact things for these drivers, and it's going to be very different compared to the dry conditions we've seen for the first three races of the season.
Now, as for the championship, Charlie Fair is leading, but he's got 2 second places and a missed race. So his consistency when he does show up seems to be quite good, but he's kind of racing without a safety net. Gilles Estupinian only 10 points behind him, with Aaron Sunday pretty close, coming off of a challenge title last series. He's going to try and see if he can go back-to-back and come in and win the sport class as well, and then it drops off a bit. I have to go 60 points down to get Nathan Albuhaka and Mehmet Karachai tied for that fourth position before it closes up again here in the top 10. What about the Clean Driver Championship? How's that looking, Justin?
Well, so far, Carlos Lopez, only one incident so far, looking well and above, with Joe Estupinian being on the 2 incident points so far for the driver standings, for the clean driver, should say. Everybody else has 5 or more so far. There's a big jump between second and third in particular. You have Yurza, you have Main, you have Bulky. Many drivers already with 8+ incidents on the season so far. So a lot of people are racking up those incidents, especially after last week with the race at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. But others, like Lopez, just keeping it nice and clean like you need to be able to win a championship for the clean driver at least.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be a tough one here today with the rain, that is for sure. But let's take a look as well at the track itself that we're going to be racing on. Of course, we're here at Silverstone. And, well, if you missed the first 2 races, you're going to be racing in the rain. So it's going to be slippery, but it will be consistent. This rain is not going to let up, Justin. So drivers know what they're up against. It's just trying to manage that lack of grip.
Yeah, fixed time of day, meaning fixed sky box, and meaning there's not going to be any movement on that radar. It's going to stay constant, that same steady stream all throughout this race. And for the most part, drivers seem pretty comfortable with the conditions. It's very wet in terms of the track surface. After all, the skies overcast, fully green skies above with the light rain on the radars as well. So these drivers have had the past 45 minutes in this grouping at least to make sure they're ready to go. They knew it was going to be raining coming into tonight. It's just a matter of, are they going to be able to keep from overexerting themselves and pushing off the racetrack when push comes to shove?
Watching Jonathan Kuo, who sits in 5th right now. Jeremy Hall has the provisional pole. For those not familiar with this series, they get 3 timed laps that they are allowed to take here in qualifying. That said, unless they took off almost immediately, they might not get that 3rd lap in because the session does not allow you to complete the hot laps. We have seen in both the previous races that that's not uncommon. Paul Cavanaugh here as we ride on board with him. just coming to about halfway through the lap now. This is to the old pit straight up towards Cops Corner.
And for these drivers, they're going to have to be able to balance out how much speed they carry through these corners, but also make sure they maximize what they can do in terms of the apexes. This run through Meggetts and Beckett's in particular, to get the flow just right. Quick flick to the left, then you have the rumble strips to the right. In this case, nearly pushed a little bit, almost too much to the left. But right now, doing a good balance right now is Kavanaugh in this on this race lap to be able to try and qualify, just trying to make sure he doesn't over push the car in that flow.
This is Carlos Lopez. He's one of those that does not have a lap down yet, and he's on his second one right now, it looks like, which means he's not going to have enough time for a third with these laps at 2:10 plus for most drivers. In fact, the quickest time to 2:14.2 out here in this sport class. He's a little wide coming in, but he cuts back nicely down to the apex. Here it is Lopez, and now he switches into Luffield, Justin.
Going to get the car to rotate, though, to be able to stick to the bottom of the racetrack, and that's going to be one of the main things. Maximize the race lines. Alan Owens, take a look at him as he makes his way down the front straightaway. One of three drivers not yet set time, should say, into the old sections of the racetrack for the front straightaway that used to be there before the reconfiguration a few years ago. But for these drivers here, this is going to become extremely treacherous for parts of this racetrack tonight. It's going to become extremely tenuous in terms of the technical part. This car, from what I'm seeing from these drivers, doesn't want to rotate and say the loop, for example, into entry. And for any of the other sections, this car is going to be a battle just to be able to make sure you stay on the racing line tonight. And many of these drivers are plowing tight, even with the rainy conditions, just to get the car to stick.
It's speaking of it being a struggle. Alan Owens was one of our quicker drivers. In fact, was at the top of the timing sheets during practice. But without a lap time down, he is in real trouble having to climb his way through the field today. He's got about a minute left. I'm not even sure he can get to the finish line in time. We're going to check out Marcel Yunus, who's going to abandon this last lap. So he might not be happy with that one. And the 004, I'm actually trying to see where exactly he is in terms of position. Looks like he's 17th right now, so that's as high as he's going to see. What about Charlie Fair in the 28? Another driver that was quick in the practice session. He comes to a halt. He's good enough for third on this last and final lap. Namit Karachai is good enough for front row, actually, as he crossed the line briefly ago.
Good job within a tenth of a second here, but these drivers wanting a time to be able to try and get themselves an improvement here. Down this front straightaway this time for Andrew Long. Right now needs to move up to the 2:15.3. He set last time. He wants to try to improve. Looks like he's going to finish off in the 9th spot as qualifying comes to a close.
Alan Owens was short by a corner. Wow, that is gut-wrenching for him, and one of only two drivers that failed to set a lap, the other being Carlos Lopez. I believe we've got our grid at the ready, though, so with a rather large field here today, should be a fun one out playing in the rain for this 60-minute event. And at the top of it, it's going to be Jeremy Hall on the pole position. Mehmet Karachai starts from second today, with Charlie Fair starting in third. Jonathan Kuo, good enough for fourth. That's a name I don't recognize, so he must be new to the series here. I'll have to double check. Kevin Orr will start fifth. Aaron Sunday, great qualifying there in sixth position. Volker Krebs, P7 for him. Gilles Estupinian starting in eighth. Andrew Long, good enough for P9. Top 10 going to go to Christopher Costas. Nathan Albuhaka in 11th, and Casey McDonald will start on the outside of row 6, Justin.
Jim Walsh starts back in 13th with Jeremy Main in the 14th position. Then you have Chad Casey on 15th. Brian Stern in 16th. Marcel Yunus will begin the race in 17th spot. We've seen his perspective during qualifying. While precision finding speed for Jeff Williams, he'll start 18th. Then it's Jeff Gardner in 19th. Lee Binkley in 20th. Paul Cavanaugh will be kept on his laps in the 2:16 bracket in 21st. Randy Lorvold in 22nd. Then you have Arn Klassen in 23rd. 24th spot goes to 007 Ward Preston.
Guillermo Mungia will be 25th, followed by Peter Yurtsa in 26th position. Then it's Andrew Elsom on the inside of the next row and Jake Garbino on his outside. Last driver to set a time was Chris Drankovic. And then you've got Carlos Lopez starting 30th and Alan Owens in 31st from last on the field. How high can he go from there in just a 60-minute race today? We've got just a few more moments left in the warm-up here, so we are going to be getting going soon. I believe we typically are watching the pole laps here, so we'll see if we get that pulled up in a moment and can kind of walk through the lap of how to be fast in the rain here at Silverstone. Here we go. We're on board. Justin, why don't you talk us through?
Yes, indeed. This was on the second lap for his qualifying session. He was in the 2:15s during the practice session, picked up an extra second in the rainy conditions. Good flow through the first corner. Be able to flow your way back and forth through the section, through farm, up to village. Get yourself quick with the gears. Just avoid the rumble strip to the right side of the racetrack before you go to the loop. Now with the loop, we've seen people push wide throughout the session so far today. In this case, just went just the right arc, got it to stick, didn't get tight. Got a good run built up the entry for the Wellington Straight. Already down the Wellington Straight, you can see him trying to eye up how to enter the run through Brooklands. Just trying to make sure he's got that diamond down for this part of the curbing, but also doesn't push hard up the racetrack here. That time you see how he doesn't slide so much to the left field. Doesn't go up that extra car length that we've seen a couple people do in the qualifying. Through wood code, it's pretty standard for the old pit straight. To be able to make your way down the old front straightaway at full throttle pace before you go to Cops. Now with Cops, it's going to be about making sure you don't get any off tracks pushing wide here. In this case with the lower speeds, didn't push out to the curbing and getting the quick flow through. This section going to be critical tonight. Meggetts, Beckett's, Chapel. Going to make or break drivers in the race tonight. In the qualifying session, just try to go for some simple arcs to be able to make it through the corners, to be able to set up a good boost of speed for that run up the Hayner Straight, where you have a couple more corners to close it out. You have Stowe, where you have to be able to make sure you're right at the braking mark. Went pretty deep on the brakes this time, but also got the arc down again to go for the diamond, the middle of the curbing, before you go through Vale and make your way through Club to close out the lap. Good smooth run for Jeremy Hall. Didn't go too high up on his arcs, didn't push up the racetrack, got a good run.
And got himself pole position. So off he goes. Ooh, it was close to being off the course, though. He took it right to the edge of it. But a 2:14.2 will put him on the top step when they get the green flag. It wasn't by the greatest of margins, just a little bit over a tenth over Mehmet Karachai. So he's going to have to try and do his best to keep Mehmet behind in the race itself. Looks like warm up just about over here. So driver is going to get ready to grid up. Don't forget, with a 60-minute race, there will be at least one pit stop. And the drivers will have to do their best to try and nail their strategy and get the fuel down, get the shortest amount of fuel in possible to make it to the finish. That has honestly been one of the talking points in the previous races, is who had a quick stop with the rain kind of eating into the fuel consumption, Justin.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting, is going to be how long the pit stop's going to be, but also how they're going to play things out, because you're running much slower lap times. And usually, in theory, you end up having the fuel consumption being different because you're running slower speeds, in turn, less fuel burn in theory. But tonight's going to be interesting to see how the drivers play this out. We've seen the window fluctuate in other series of an extra 10 minutes or so because of the rain conditions, because you're running slower. So it's going to get interesting on how tonight's going to play out on the fuel.
Looks like everybody's ready to go. So the pace car now takes off. It is a very short pace lap around here. You can see they're only starting at the end of the Hangar Straight, so just a couple corners, and they're already going to be given the green flag. Not much time to try and warm those tires and brakes, especially with the cool temperatures we've got on the track itself. There goes the pace car already. Control going to be given over to Jeremy Hall. He has to wait patiently for the call from the flag stand as he'll weave his way through Vale and Club corners here at the end of the lap. Looks like Mehmet hanging back just a little bit here. He's got to try and stay a little closer than that if he wants a good shot off the line. They'll come out of the final corner. They can see the flag stand, and there it is. Green flag is out. Jeremy Hall with a great start coming down into Abbott's corner, or Abbey corner, excuse me, and down into the first apex. He is going to chop down easily and take the lead away. Charlie Farrer moves up into second as they try to siphon out to single file behind him.
Yeah, good separation to build things up. Didn't get the great position there, Karachai. So that opened the door immediately for Fair because he couldn't get lined up door to door to keep it equalized. Everybody else starting to get a little bit racy in that pack. Aaron Sunday, it looked like he was trying to get side by side. For example, some of these drivers are going to have to be very careful because one of the biggest ways there were incidents in the practice session for tonight, drivers coming down and turning and arcing on each other in turns like this.
Down into Brooklands. Yeah, like you said, late apex here. It can be so tempting to try and get the car underneath the person in front of you, but that gap can close quickly. So far, so good. I haven't seen any major incidents, so that's the good news, that the driver's really respecting the lack of grip and visibility here on the first lap. But I spoke too soon. Jeff Williams seems to be off course. There he is coming out of Luffield here.
Williams having to come out of the grass there. Had a bit of contact, I think, from behind. Race Control already having a busy time starting to build up here with some of these drivers. Kevin Orr still trying to hold on to this fifth spot. We're seeing him on screen. Sunday, decent jump as well, as these drivers are going to have to work their way through the rooster tails as well. That'll impact the visibility through these wiper blades as drivers try and find clean pockets to be able to run in.
Yeah, try to spot their brake markers if they're so tucked in close behind, as you can see right here with Jonathan Kuo and Mehmet Karachai. I'm going to see what happened to Williams. Good call on that, Justin. He definitely got some help.
Paul Cavanaugh was that help, and he already has been given a black flag for the cause of incident. And that's kind of pretty straightforward. Again, that's kind of what we may expect to see here tonight. Some drivers may be more comfortable than others. In terms of sending it, Kevin Orr just lost the grip and spun it around in front of Aaron Sunday.
Oh, and this is one of the worst spots he could have had an issue. He's basically stuck waiting for an opening as the field absolutely streams by. He goes from a top 5 to all the way down at the back of the field.
Talk about having a hurricane of a race start. That was not the best of runs through the corner in the first place. Just carried a bit too much speed. That time heading to 60 and 17 cost him. Walter Krebs doing a good job meanwhile, trying to make some positions up, or at least trying to fend on the switchback. Andrew Lawn actually making up now 2 spots so far in this run so far.
Have a look at the gap up in front of him. That's Gilles Estepinian in 6th place up the road. The gap at about 2.2 seconds. We're only on lap 2, so he's going to have to try and hustle. Big look down the inside from Casey McDonald on Volker Krebs, but no dice. He'll have to sit behind. I've been keeping half an eye on Alan Owens. He's already up to 19th, so he's been making quick work. And here's what cost Orr. Yeah, I think he did that one on his own. Unfortunately, I guess he's up the creek without an oar now.
Very punny, but right now, it's no laughing matter to be stuck in the middle of the racetrack, right in the edge of the racing surface and the racing line. Or very lucky that no one ended up having a bit more shallow of a line and had contact with them. But looking up front, Jonathan Kuo still trying to find a way to get a good line built up, and Karachai seems to be a little bit faster. Just got checked up by Karachai's bubble.
Yeah, he was so close to him on the way in. That was a little scary coming down into Maggots. But out of Chapel, he's got the inside. He's got a little bit better momentum. Question is, can he get the job done? This is for 3rd place. Tries to steer into the corner, but Mehmet discovers that red car is there. Has to give way, and that is 3rd place for the 880.
Tell he had a lot more confidence. It talked about this in terms of potential setups today, and Maggots back to Chapel. if you don't have a good line through that section, someone's going to take advantage in this case. 880 taking advantage and now is starting to run away a little bit. Look at how much the leaders have pulled away. 3.5, 4 seconds already between second and third.
They are really running away. So Kuo's going to have his work cut out for him if he wants to try and move any higher than this third position. There is Kavanaugh serving his penalty and actually coming to his stall as well. Now, this is way too early for him to take his scheduled stop. So I'm kind of curious as to what he's intending to do here. Get a little bit of side-by-side action behind Mehmet Karaçay now. That's Aaron Sunday versus Gilles Estupinian for 5th place. Sunday will rebuff Gilles.
Estupinian also up a couple spots in the early going so far. Talked about his performances. He's been looking very solid all season long so far. He's been picking his spots too. Hasn't been uber aggressive, Estupinian is. And so far in this race, just trying to see if he can pace himself now in this grouping that's now together for about 4 on back. It's going to be difficult to be able to set up passes, I think, today, even as this race goes on, unless people make mistakes, though. And that's going to be the main thing. Minimizing your own mistakes so you're ready to pounce on when someone does make a mistake like Sunday's starting to in this part of the track.
Estupinian, we have to remember that this is not ideal as it sits right now. Ferrer, who is leading the points, is up ahead of him by a number of positions. It's not a huge amount, but it's definitely going to see some distance raised in the points title after this race is over. That's if they finish where they are. And it seems like Gilles just having a tough time keeping up with Aaron Sunday as he gets himself a nice bit of distance. A little bit farther behind. Is this Krebs? Yes, it is. In the red car, defending on McDonald, takes the middle of the road coming up into Stowe and will hold him up for another corner.
McDonald, one of your bigger movers so far, up 3 spots. Give him a shout out up to the top 10. Boy, that was a deep lunge attempt for McDonald, though. McDonald, I think, feels like he's got a lot of confidence. Trying to send it almost 4 car lengths back, almost a little bit too deep to try that, obviously. Seems like as long as he keeps the setup ever flowing, keeps himself patient, the opportunities will come in a battle like this one with Krebs.
He continues to follow in the tire tracks. Speaking of those hard chargers, Owens now up 16 positions. Big look to the inside once again from McDonald. But it looks like Krebs will hold him back. Behind them, a big spin. Abu Haka seems to have lost grip. I don't know if he had help. That sends him to the outside of Village.
Yeah, that's a tough break for Abu Haka. Just called for assistance on the radio here involving that one, and I believe he may have gotten some help from Jeremy Main in that situation. See if we can get a look later on, because that's now being looked at potentially for more contact. And a lot of these drivers are starting to miss their braking marks, and I almost wonder if that's what McDonald was doing previously, trying to see where the brake mark is with the rooster tails, making it hard. Did we take a look at replays?
Yeah, just lining up in the wall there. Jim Walsh coming out of what looked like club corner. Yeah, Jeremy Main definitely came up and gave him a little nudge from behind, sent them both off the circuit. But that might be a penalty coming in. Well, it is a penalty coming in. I just saw race control give him the black flag, so he'll have to now come and serve that one.
And that one with Jay Garbino, we just seen in the last incident, though, going to be a tough one because Garbino got turned around on the straightaway. You have Mungia, who's not been having the greatest of seasons right now, going off the track as well a little bit. But here's that Garbino situation. You see car on the left goes a little bit offline. He's going a little bit more to the right. It was more the car to the right than it was the car to the left. Klassen's also just picked up a black flag now.
It's a real shame whenever you have that sort of miscommunication down the straightaway and someone gets hooked like that. It can often create some really destructive wrecks, that is for sure, because everybody's at such high speeds. As we come back to Sunday, Estupinian and Long, it looks like here. Yeah, actually, Long kind of getting involved in this a little bit, it seems. This is Aaron Sunday right now. Continue to be chased for that 5th spot. Gilles just unable to find his way by. Ooh, a bit of a different line here. Is this maybe Estupiñán setting him up?
Trying to a little bit, but not close enough to be able to make a realistic send yet. I think right now it's about seeing where can you find a chance to maybe move ahead, get some visibility. It's not blocking, for example, we just seen with Sunday there with the top box. That was actually Sunday trying to steal the rooster tails of Karachai, and in turn, Estupiñán trying to steal the rooster tails. You see there with that push we just had from Estupiñán. If you get yourself caught up in those raindrops, you're not going to be able to see the racing line, and that kind of just caused a bit of a spurt for the 21. And when you're in a bigger pack like the battle for 10th right now with the lower box, it's not so easy to be able to get those lines differentiated to see the visibility in this rain. Those wiper blades are going to have to be in full force if you want to be able to see in these conga line situations compared to a dry track.
Costas here in 10th, as you mentioned. That's Eunice in behind him. And Mr. Alan Owens has already caught them. So could he make up 2 more here pretty shortly? We'll keep half an eye up there on top for that battle for P5. But it seems like there hasn't been much movement there recently. And there they head once again up into the final few corners. Eunice. Oh, I thought for a second we were going to get a little bit of a move. No, he is going to try and get a launch off the corner. Different lines between them. He could cut back across the left-hand side down to the Vale, but he chooses to stay on the racing line behind Costas, who's catching up to Krebs every little bit. In fact, I'd say all 4 cars are kind of accordioning together.
Yeah, essentially grouping together in those battle packs we know so much about when it comes to style of racing. But it's so much more different in the rain a little bit in that, oh boy, there goes your biggest mover of the entire race. Owens just went for a slide, may have just hit something on the hydroplane.
Well, there goes some of his hard work. He didn't fall too many positions down, but definitely caught him out a little bit. He's in 14th as opposed to 12th before. This one carries on, following Krebs being leading ahead of Costas and Eunice. Gets himself at least arm's length away. So that's not going to be a pass attempt from Christopher, at least this time, down into Brooklands. All right, so what happened here? Did he just touch the curb? Maybe that was a very sudden snap, Justin.
I think he touched the curb. I think he just grazed the side of the curb with the left side tires. Seen that on my end as well, where as soon as he hit the curbing and hit the brakes at the same time, it was like slicks, like an oil slick with the puddles. Just caused him to just snap around immediately. Great save in that situation. The battle pack for 5th, by the way, they're losing touch to Karachai again. Sunday is just tiptoeing his way through this section right now.
Doing a good job. This is what he needs to do. He knows how to win those championships. So what's going to happen this time around, considering he's kind of making up for a bit of lost time with Mosport not going so well for him. That's his drop round now. But he did have 2 third places earlier on in the season. An incredible start of really great consistency there. He's going to have to do a little bit better as things sit right now. Karachai keeping him back, and look at behind him. It seems like Long getting a little bit eager to try and make a move on the 21 there.
Yeah, just a little bit, but not too much right now. I think right now, for example, Andrew Long, again, needs to be much closer. If you want to get alongside, you can't send him 4 or 5 car lanes. That's a good way to get a black flag with a sense of contact. So as they get all sorted out here, it's just going to be, can you find a way to chip away?
Through the loop once more. Everybody trying to get that throttle down here in the slippery conditions. Abu Haka, after he got sent off a bit, let's see if he can make up at least one position with Randy Lervold. This is coming down into Village once more. Not quite there. That code blue car will continue to stay in 17th, or will he? Oh, sneaking by. Abu Haka picks his pocket when he spies a mistake.
What did I say? As soon as you see an option to be able to take advantage, you are able to move ahead. In this case, had mistakes, opened the door because he missed the line like the case of Lervold, and now he's back on the back foot, just trying to get the rhythm down. He's still cutting corners, though, trying to sort things out.
This is a lot trickier than you'd think. It probably looks rather simple from the outside, but it's anything but from within the car. I can assure you of that. Out onto the old pit straight once again. And Abu Haka at least gets one back for now. Do see something seems to have happened to Chad Casey because I think he lost 2 positions very suddenly. So I wonder if he had some kind of issue just shortly ahead of this group. And Lervold's not out of the woods. Look at this. That's Jim Walsh starting to rock up behind him as we check back in with Aaron Sunday. And for a second, I thought he was going to be heading into pit lane. That that fence there made it look like it was a lot closer, but no, he is going to stay out for a little bit more. Before this starts to get any spicier, we do want to mention Princess Cruises because they're the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. Sweet. Continue to follow Sunday. That is still Gilles in behind him. Look at how much pressure Long is putting on Estupinian in that 21 car. But he gets a bad exit coming out of Aintree. That's going to scupper any hopes there.
It's going to take another few laps maybe to close back up. It's not bad so far driving out of this group overall. It's not bad driving out of the field as a whole. As some may say, it's been pretty tame. Outside of a couple of those incidents where drivers just missed the braking marks, the field seems to be really settled into a good rhythm. Sunday in particular now has found his water wings. Jake Carbino, what happened here? He's already last on the pylon after the incident earlier, spins it around again, already had to take the fast repair, and now does a loop around on top of it to add. But this is what happened to Casey. I kept an eye on this at the corner of my eye. Snap loose, and bam, smacks the right side tire. He's lucky he didn't break it off the car.
They do have a spare car waiting in pit lane, so that is available if they wind up with damage. Kind of surprised we haven't seen more of that, honestly. In fact, I think there may be only one driver who's taken that spare car, and it looks to be Jake Carbino. Otherwise, everybody else is holding on until we get to the pit stop and just trying to carry on. This is a lot closer than we've seen before, and with Long making a mistake, that means that there's no more pressure from behind for Gilles, at least for the time being, but he doesn't get as close as he needs coming down to the Vale. He's still keeping himself in the mirrors of Aaron Sunday in case he does make a mistake. We'll check back in on the battle for 9th as well. Volker Krebs still leading his own trio.
No one's giving chase for the most part right now. No one's showing any cracks in terms of being able to prevent themselves from going off the racetrack. No one's had any major troubles, I should say, from that situation. But right now, it's about, can you maintain this for another 41 minutes? And that's the tough thing. We're already seeing drivers that have, for the most part, been just riding along no issue, like Andrew Long, for example, make mistakes, because all it takes is one lapse of judgment, one little difference in the line, your car may just shove off the racetrack.
Steady as she goes, you could say. Just try and make your way through the weather and keep it on the black stuff, and hopefully you get a good result. My goodness, we got a battle going on here. This is for 19th, and I think that might be Yerxa going a little bit wide there up at the front of this group. That is going to be trying to make out who that is. I think that's Jim Walsh, who we already saw had a problem with the wall a little bit earlier in this race, with quite a few down in behind him. Jeff Williams as well, you can kind of throw into this quintet.
Yeah, and yours says Alonso's dealing with damage from the back end, not impacting him though, because it's only just on the back bumper in these rainy conditions. Everybody else back here, I think it's just more so fending for themselves, just trying to get away from here. Oh, that was nearly bad for Jim Walsh on the curbing.
It's got to be careful. We've already seen at least one driver lose a number of positions by spinning them up on the curbs. So we check in with Andrew Elsom here in the bright green Rexy car, right smack dab in the middle of these 5 machines as they head through Maggots and Beckett's, dealing with the buffeting dirty air off these GT3 machines, and also trying hard to get the launch down the hangar straight out of Chapel. That's Peter Yurtsa in behind him in the 54. And I thought for a second he was going to be nice and tight to the back of him, but it doesn't quite look like he's there.
Yeah, Lervold's just been going backwards more and more. He continues to just shove. These puddles are just trying to carry him off the racetrack. It almost seems like with the lack of grip. How to play a little bit more defensive though, because Elsom's going for it. Not a clean send.
Oh, that's going to send at least 3 cars off the course, and a few get some with ease as they breeze on past Elsom. Sees multiple cars going by, including one of our former front runners there. That was Kevin Orr, slowly making his way back up.
Yeah, and remember what I talked about, you have to be close enough to realistically make the send without it being a dive. In the case of Elsom, that was definitely confidence, overconfidence in fact, just trying to make it stay to the bottom and the left side of the racetrack, make it stick. That was not going to work. Plus the arc on top of it from the blue machine for Lervold, and that caused chaos once again once Lervold needed to make the corner.
Definitely was costly for a small handful of them. We'll come back to the battle for 11th now. This is Costas ahead of Owens. Okay, so Owens back up into that 12th spot, which he had, fallen back again for a second time after he had that half spin coming through Abbey. But as they go through the Maggots-Beckett sequence, he's still trying to get worked up to a pass here on the 719. Let's see what Chapel holds as they try to line up that final launch.
And give credit to Owens on the speed here. We mentioned he was the fastest in final practice here tonight. In this race so far, he's been in the ballpark of Jeremy Hall and Charlie Farrar in terms of speed. He's just got a lot of confidence in that car to be able to lunge deeper by an extra car length or so. Some of these other drivers to be able to move ahead, to be able to battle like this one with Costas going to go to the outside to do so in this case. He's got the speed. The thing is, because he didn't have that qualifying lap down, it put him in such a box where he's had to push and be aggressive like he just did with Costas, nearly pushing Costas wide just to make up spots. I'd argue if it wasn't for the qualifying, we'd see Owens in the top 3 right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that seems a likely situation on this one, because he's about 27 seconds behind, and that's all just from, 1, the mistake that he made, 2, he's been stuck behind so many cars, but now up to 11th for him. So watch the onboard here. I think this is the VR headset view that we're getting on the live cam there from Marcel Eunice. I always love seeing this because you can really see how drivers have to try and spot their apexes and whatnot, Justin.
Yeah, it also gets a sense here. You can see this is from the VR output, just how you get the realism out of it. You're able to move around your head 360 to be able to see what's around you. You get able to drive the car like you're in an actual car. It's for some people, some people prefer triples, but some people prefer that realism when it comes to being able to see. It also gives that good presence on what's it like right now in the car with the rooster tails. You see how much of this is built around.
Yeah, so difficult with that spray just blasting in your face, as Marcel definitely discovering that right now. Ooh, we got a little bit of battle happening with Aaron Sunday. Something must have happened because not only is he behind Gilles, but Long has managed to sneak through. Some sort of error or something has befallen the 331.
Almost wonder if it was a door opens for one, it opens up for another type of opportunity. I do know that in that part of the racetrack, if you go off the racing surface, your car might not stick if you're in off those normal lines compared to some of the others. I think he was offline in heading to Cops with some of the battling, and that kind of sparked Sunday to go backwards when he got pushed into the puddles, and instead of the I wouldn't say drier lines with the way the race is today, the preferred lines at least where there's at least some grip.
I have to say that I am impressed, though, with what we've been seeing, because it doesn't seem like there's been too many major mistakes. Yes, there's been a few slip-ups out there, but considering what the drivers are dealing with, Justin, I really think they're doing a phenomenal job. We haven't had any retirements yet.
Not yet, although we might see one. There's tech issues you've just seen for one car at least that's getting some conversation on the radio. Some of these other drivers so far are just trying, I think, just survive. Just get through the race, try and get a good points finish, and survive. Because if you're 40 seconds behind the leader in some of these cases right now, that's all you can do. Looks like we already have pit stops underway.
Kevin Orr going to try and go kind of counter strategy because of his spin earlier on. So he's getting himself some clear air, and then he'll probably try and pass a few cars as they take their pit stops if he feels like he has good enough pace. His best lap so far at 2:16.5. That's still a little off of our leaders. Not quite as quick as some of them, but could get him as high as up to the top 20. We continue to watch Volker Krebs versus Marcel Eunice. Volker holding that 9th spot. They're a little too far away from one another, but look at that in the background. Guess who's coming to play? That is Alan Owens once again.
Going to be a few more laps for him to close up right now, but he's still running 2:15s compared to what Krebs and Eunice are doing, 2:16s. Oh, that's a little bit of a missed corner. That's going to cost him some more time by a couple seconds or so, maybe. But
sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, it definitely been a bit messy for Owens. Not a perfect race by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm sure he's been under a lot of stress to try and perform, considering the momentous task that was laid before him when he gridded up here today. All right, hopping on board, watching from the roof of Marcel Eunice now, coming down through farm into village. He's got a sight down to the braking zone, but not the overlap that he needs. Oh, but there's a mistake. A little bit too wide from Volker Krebs. They're going to be wheel to wheel coming into the corner, cutting back underneath them. Can Marcel get this one done? Yes, he's got it heading into Aintree.
Yet again, taking advantage of a mistake. This time, Krebs just ended up missing that corner exit. All that set him up for that opportunity for the pass, and look at that. Owens gained back most of the time he lost and then some because of all this aggressive crossing over and battling. It's now a 3-car battle with one of the fastest cars on the racetrack ready to pounce.
I mean, I wonder if Marcel figured this is when I got to go. The mistake is there, and I can't afford to lose any more time because here comes Alan Owens. Maybe he can try to set off from there. Yeah, just a bit too deep, unfortunately, from Volker. And then he was so shallow into that next corner. A beautiful switchback from Eunice, and off he goes.
Yeah, you see just how much the tires slid around just to be able to make sure he stayed there. Owens in live action now is ready to pounce and poke. Needs to pick the right spot, though. Set this up maybe down the Hayner straight if he wants to be able to build something up. Looks like it's going to be a few more corners at least, if not another lap of setting things up now for Owens.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's within range from here. Tries to pull a bit of that slipstream and coughing and sputtering through the spray being kicked off the tires of Volker Krebs. So as we jump on board with Alan and the 401 machine, maybe he'll pit since he's also trying to make himself pass a few cars in the process. Nope, he's going to stay out. Although, again, we see a bit of a wide run by Volker Krebs. He seems a bit shaken this lap.
Yeah, that start of the lap, I think, is kind of broken up his rhythm that we touched upon, needing to maintain. If you want to be able to run well, pit siren's going off there, but for Owens, it looks like he's going to stay in attack mode. Here to push, push, push. He's ready to attack. And that's a little too deep. He's lucky he didn't hit Krebs.
That was up from a long ways back. Oh, and he's going to lose control coming off the corner instead. Krebs will hold the spot, but that had to have been scary for both of them. And in fact, Costas sneaks back through into 11th. Though is still trying to work out the kinks on this one. What happened with Randy Lervold, though? Coming side by side, it looks like, I think, in a Maggots Beckett's. Oh, and he gets absolutely punted.
Yeah, just got door banged there by Ward Preston, who sent it deep, missed the curving, missed the racing line. Just about spun himself out on the process like a pinball.
That's pretty unfortunate for Lervold, kind of an innocent victim on that one. We'll come back to Sunday once again, and he's back ahead of Gilles. So something, yeah, he must have, I think Andrew Long passed both of them, and now Gilles got passed by Aaron while we weren't looking. Is he going to try and retake it back? Yeah, it looks like he's got a good run coming off of Chapel here. This is up towards Stowe. He's on the wrong side of the track, though. This is going to be a brave effort to try and make this pass the hard way, and it looks like he's almost got it. No, he's a little bit too far off the racing line, and a great job there by Aaron Sunday, not letting him have it easy here today. Speaking of having it easy, if you want it easy with your cruises, check out Princess Cruises, which is the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. All right, we're going to check back in with Charlie Ferrer. If I'm not mistaken, this gap has closed up. I don't remember Kuo being this close before.
I think so too, because it's Charlie Ferrer, remember, was up with Hall, doing very well, and then dropped back as the run went on, almost back to Kuo. Kuo, it's been within about a second, 2 seconds or so for a little while. Now they're starting to equalize a little bit out. I think at this point, Kuo might be just trying to see, can he find a way to leapfrog to second step on this podium, with Ferrer continuously getting slower and slower as the race goes on compared to the leader.
I was checking the recent laps here, and they're pretty close on pace, but Kuo, I think, a little bit more consistently quicker, as he had a 2:15.4, 2:15.5, 2:15.4, whereas it's been a 2:15.5, 2:15.6, 2:15.3 for Charlie Ferrer. So a bit little, I say all over the place, but it's not really. That's still very consistent, but definitely a bit more erratic than what we're seeing out of the 880 car. And consistency not only wins championships, but it can win your races too.
Yeah, that consistency going to be very important as the season goes on, because you can argue he's been really the only person to show constant consistency, but the pressure is absolutely there. It's what you mentioned in terms of the drop weeks, though, in terms of the drop race, though, because of that zero. If you have a zero on the drop count, it makes you have to perform every week. It puts extra pressure. Owens has already found his way past Costas, by the way. So Owens just showing the raw pace yet again, even after that pinball effect on that pass attempt before. He's still got enough speed to just come right on back and attack again.
I feel like Chris has got to be looking at that 401 cars like, didn't I just see you a moment ago? It's been back and forth a couple times now that he's been overtaken. But Alan Owens going to try and make sure that he doesn't have to do it again in this race. 25 minutes left to go. We're past the halfway mark. Maybe about 10 more minutes before he's to the end of the pit window. And then everybody's got to come and try and take their fuel. He outbrakes Volker Krebs in front of him briefly, does Owens, but he's not close enough quite yet. You can see Costas is kind of being lost by that duo. Ooh, here's a really good run from Owens this time.
Right onto the rear wing, it looks like this time. You see him in the rooster tails. Focus is more so on Costas at the moment, but here's Owens. Good send. A little too much speed yet again, though. Another mistake in this battle yet again.
Put a little bit too much lick on the stamp, unfortunately. It did not send the letter and mail it. It unfortunately put him exactly back where he was. And now Costas is closer than he was at the start of the lap, and Krebs is farther away. It's, you know, we talked about that consistency, and I think that's what we're seeing out of Alan Owens, too. Very, very fast, but slightly erratic today.
Yeah, just continuously building up incidents, or more so, I should say, just building up mistakes. Anytime he's got into good rhythm back together for a pass, he's sailed off the racetrack. At least 2 or 3 times at least. That's really put him back yet again. Another mistake this time. Try to carry too much speed, forced to flick hard to the right to be able to correct the car. And now it's going to take another few laps to be able to get back up to Krebs again.
I just saw Andrew Long come down pit lane, so some of our front runners going to try to take their pit stops now. That'll be interesting to watch, no doubt. There he is behind the wall, finds his stall, and yeah, as we expected, not taking any tires. Usually, for the most part, most drivers are just going to be getting fuel only and back out on the track. Estupinen in 6th position now, thanks to Long pitting. I just saw Chris Costas also pitting in, so he doesn't want anything to do with Alan Owens anymore. He's going to get his fuel and be on his merry way. But Gilles actually on the back foot. That's Casey McDonald in behind him. A nice little drift too off the corner as we just cut in on Aaron Sunday out of Aintree there.
Talked about McDonald being one of the drivers doing well on the aggressive early in this race. Now he's doing a great job just riding and biding his time. 216 flat last time by, not making too many major mistakes. Just staying in this choo-choo train now. With pit stops right on the horizon, he's in a good spot for the window. Barry Main, he's already having to come back for black flag. You see his camera viewpoint. Has the open wheel rim on the wheel, just having to go arm over arm to be able to get this thing turned around.
Yeah, the formula style. I always find it interesting who goes for what out here. Of course, I mean, we call it the formula style. We can pretty frequently see that style of wheel on GT cars like these days. So it isn't quite what it once was out there. It is very popular on the roadside in general. Meanwhile, 2nd place, Charlie Ferrer, not that much farther ahead of Jonathan Kuo, so he hasn't been able to respond to him, but he also hasn't lost any time. So I guess preserving the status quo isn't too horrible of a thing, Justin.
I think that's got to be the part of the focus, is just maintain the good points day for Charlie. Maintain the points day, maintain the championship consistency, maintain the opportunity to be able to score points. But it's pit party time. It looks like a lot of drivers still able to come in around the 21-minute mark. We were talking about potentially the drivers maybe pushing towards the 15-minute mark with the fuel. But some of these drivers coming in a few laps early, making sure they're good to go.
Yep, Sunday amongst them. Casey McDonald is in. Marcel Eunice. Alan Owens decided to pit. Looks like Brian Stern also coming in. So, yeah, it's definitely getting to the very end of that window here, and many drivers feeling now's the right time to try and get this one done. And was that a change for positions?
Yes, it was. Great pit exit for McDonald. Had a faster pit stop time, I think, and that opened up the door to just pass by Sunday, although they do now have traffic to deal with.
Yeah, this is the unfortunate side of pitting a little bit earlier. That's Lee Binkley, who still owes us a pit stop. So they could be held up somewhat. Great job there by Casey McDonald. It was about 0.7 of a second quicker, I'm seeing on my timing screen. And normally I didn't think he was close enough that would make the difference, but sometimes those in and out laps, if you're just that much more aggressive down to the cones, you can find yourself picking up multiple positions. And then maybe a bit more if you can go by Lee Binkley here in a moment. Sunday, a bit of a backwards trend, unfortunately, today.
Yeah, not the greatest runs for Binkley. He's just been running in the back half of the field much of the race, I think, for that 0-2 machine. But what happened to Ward Preston? Looked like he maybe hit the left side curb, sent him off the racetrack carrying too much speed, cut the course as he drifted his way around, had to lock it up and slam the brakes. Elsom, what happened to him here?
Not sure. For Ward, by the way, he's our only DNF at this stage. Oh, that was going to be a really good cutback. Unfortunately, he got turned around by Kavanaugh. So I think Kavanaugh got a second penalty in this race because of that. Mungia. This is out of club corner. Oh, trying to turn and accelerate. Not always the easiest thing, he discovers.
Yeah, not the greatest of corner runs for Mungia. Not the greatest of seasons for him either. Charlie Ferrer is in the pit window and in the pit lane, though. Just simple fuel. 16-second pit stops, now the norm.
Yep, Ferrer going to return as the highest driver to have pitted. Andrew Long, who was that, is actually sitting behind Volker Krebs. So while this is for a position, they are off strategy from one another. So Long won't want to be held up too much by Volker Krebs, especially at this stage where having fast laps is almost going to be critical for him.
Yeah, at this point, in the case of Long, you know you have to go. You have to start pushing. You can't afford to be held up here in traffic if you want to be able to maintain where you're at position-wise, if not improve upon it. Tough thing is, Krebs is going defensive despite the push from Lawn. Lawn able to at least spook him off the race line this time.
Oof. That was a send and a half. He manages to make it work. Krebs stays out of the way, but Long was not willing to wait around, that is for sure. That puts him up in the 6th position. Ferrer up the road by 11 seconds, so he's unlikely to catch him at this stage as we now ride on board with Volker.
See all the rooster tails still popping up around this racetrack. Krebs just trying to get some visibility, although he's offset to where all the water is going to the windshield. Jeremy Hall, by the way, is now in the race leader's pitting.
All right, looks like Kuo is going to follow him in. And Karachai, I think this is the end of the pit window. I think this is as far as the drivers can go from here. Hall wasn't really being hassled by those behind him. Ferrer was in 2nd. So we kind of have to watch on that tower to see where Ferrer winds up, as there he hits his pit stall, the 050, or 060, excuse me. And let's see how long this one winds up being. About 16 seconds long for most of the field so far today. He's approaching that now, 16.3. Nice tidy stop. Ferrer was 16.2. So this should be pretty standard. And yes, he emerges with the lead.
Not a surprise with that pit exit. Jonathan Kuo, though, I think just went to a battle for second with his jump. He gained 2 seconds of the pit window as more cars come in.
Yeah, we need to head over to that because they came out side by side, Ferrer and Kuo, and we saw Kuo catching up to him before the pit stops, but now you can see he is ahead. Not going to take it laying down. Charlie Ferrer is hot on his heels. Can he take that position back?
Answer is not yet, though. Kuo nearly slid around in that car, just trying to keep that position maintained here. He's almost pushing too hard with how much he is missing some of these apexes all of a sudden, just trying to cut ahead and make sure he holds on to the second step of the podium.
Suddenly, Estupinian is Jonathan Kuo's biggest fan. It demotes his championship rival one more position down and helps him out. Although he'll still be losing points, it won't be as many at this stage. Kind of curious if this meant that Jonathan was being held up before the pit stops, if he was just kind of stuck in the dirty air behind him. Let's watch and see whether or not he can start to gap him.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing. Can he reverse the tide of what we've seen previously? And remember, Farrell was able to maintain. Kuo was able to stay in the popcorn seat. That run looks like Kuo now that he's in clean air is just running away with it.
Yeah, he definitely looks faster. He's already creeping inch by inch away from Charlie Fair. That gives us one last chance to try and mention our sponsor, Princess Cruises. They're the 2025 PCA title sponsor. And as the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships to sail more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. We're in the final quarter of this race, and all but two drivers, make that three drivers have stopped. Jim Walsh, Peter Yurtza, and it looks like Chris Drankovic all still owe us one, but they're farther down the order. So they're not really going to be changing the front-running positions all that much. This battle in 11th, Volker Krebs back out on track. Chris Costas finds himself still trying to overtake the 53.
Yeah, keep an eye on things absolutely here. By the way, Owens has indeed jumped them by a significant margin with all this being considered here on speed. For Costas, I think he is in a decent spot to maybe try and push Krebs here. We've seen Krebs was left vulnerable in a lot of cases. Right now, Costas just trying to make sure he can see where the racing line is compared to where Krebs likes to keep it very flat-lined on the racetrack compared to the arcs of Costas.
Yeah, he'll probably want to open those up a little bit for sure to be able to carry that speed. It looks like the drivers that I mentioned that have not pitted finally have come on in. Although did Jim Walsh have a bit of an issue? This must have been a lap prior or so. It's just spun around. Owens with another scare like he needs any more. Manages to sneak by.
Yeah. Owens yet again is all you can really say to that. He's been something today in terms of some of those mistakes, but he's still in the top 10. Give him that from dead last. It's very hard to make it up 10, maybe if not 15 spots from the back of the field. He's done 20 plus in the span of about 40, 50 minutes. Not bad from Owens.
Yeah, he's on lap 21 and he's gained 21 places. So he's averaging a car a lap, but you have to wonder if he hadn't made those mistakes, what can we say, 20 seconds or so that he maybe would be up the road? That would probably put him close to the top 5.
Yeah, he would be in a much different situation, if not be in the competition for the race win. But some of these other cars just trying to close out strong with less than 12 minutes to go on the clock. And some of these drivers have had to bounce back from incidents. Some drivers, like Brian Stern, have had very calmer races. We haven't mentioned his name all race, just running where he started in the You Scream ice cream machine.
I do love the sort of Ben and Jerry's kind of look that he's got on that thing. The 666 running 14th, up 2 from where he started. Not a bad day. Like you said, just hasn't really done anything flashy that we've seen. So Stern's just kind of doing what he's got to do, coming home hopefully with a good result at the end of it, and hopefully not making mistakes like that in front of Casey on.
Yeah, I slowed the car, just too much speed coming in. Casey on, if anything, might be able to pressurize for the spot now that Stern, as he has got himself to where he's trying to slow down to hold onto the car.
Tries to go slightly defensive, just try to dissuade Chad Casey on, but Chad's not close enough to outbrake him coming down into Brooklyn. Still, he knows, he's seen the mistake. He realizes there are cracks in the wall. If he could just manage to complete it just in front of him. Marcel Eunice being chased by Alan Owens. Okay, so Alan up to the top 10 now. And everything from here is probably just gravy for him. As the 401 sizes up the 004. Remember, these laps at 2+ minutes, he's got, what, about 4 or 5 laps to go, maybe?
Give or take, the estimate's about 5 laps to go, I think. But Owens has had to fight hard just to get up to Yunus. Every time he's gotten close to someone like Krebs previously, he's made mistakes. This time, this should have been, I think, if he didn't make the mistakes about 5-10 laps ago. Now, he's just ready to pace himself, I think. Just get himself one more spot. This is the last spot I think he's going to get.
Yeah, 9 seconds up to Aaron Sunday after this. You're right. It's going to be difficult to do anything from here. So just try and be smart about this. Doesn't need to rush it. Just needs to try and bring it home and maybe snag one more in the process as we ride along up above in the chopper cam. Watching him just ride in the tire tracks of Marcel Eunice down into the Maggots and Beckett's sequence. Or excuse me, no, that's the start of the lap, rather. That's down into Village. Let's see what kind of run he gets out of Aintree.
Hit too much the curbing yet again. Got himself a little bit loose. He is trying to cut a little bit more shower, and oh boy, just skated across the curbing this time.
Very brave to be going across those wet curbs in this car, especially this late in the race with the tread on the rain tire. Probably not at its prime.
Yeah, we've already seen him slide from touching a curb once before. He's not been afraid to just push the envelope and cut across the curbs to gain an extra couple of tenths like he's driving on the dry. And that's why we've seen him slide around so much and end up, even though he's got rapid pace, make mistakes throughout this race that have cost him even more time.
Still, I'd say he can be quite proud of the pace he does have. Just, I guess, maybe a little bit more practice on the way. What's happened to Paul Cavanaugh? He's already had a number of woes, and he's going to add to them with a spin out of the final turn. Looks like he's kept it out of the wall from that angle, so I think he's okay.
Yeah, might have just had to stomp on the brake to make sure. But back in the live action, Owens at this point, something's up. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, he avoided the wall. Good job.
Inches to spare. So he'll get back out on the track, but this is one to forget. He is currently running 29th. That said, I am very impressed with how many drivers have managed to stay on the lead lap, which is everybody. Ward Preston's DNF, so he kind of doesn't count, but all 30 drivers that are still out there are still on the same lap as the leader.
And it's looking like it may finish that way. That's unheard of, even for a track. Oh boy, Owens cutting to the grass for a moment, and she cutting in shallowly. Eunice was playing a very defensive line there, and Owens just tried to pry him off that line. That was dangerous. Owens really sent it, and now Eunice is going to have to know Owens is not afraid to just be uber aggressive again.
To quote Martin Brundle, that was ambition over adhesion. They're going to go wheel to wheel down into Brooklands. Who's going to come out ahead is the question, and it looks like that answer is still Eunice for now. Doing a good job, not just rebuffing him, but surviving some really wild throws We had a car moving backwards. I'd already lost who it was on our timing tower, but someone seemed to have lost a number of positions this lap. This late in the race, that has got to be frustrating.
Estepinen, I think, was that driver. He just fell down to 8th spot from a slide. So that dropped him 2 more spots. Yunez having a massive slow up here right now. Owens, I think, is setting up perfectly for the Hayner straight. He's been having a different line from Maggots and Beckett's to get a good corner exit. Here's Estepinen's situation.
All right, so what cost him? Oh, it's already starting to break loose. He's trying to get it woed up, but he comes to a halt. And again, championship contender there in Gilles Estepinen. So he's going to lose even more now. It's only looking at 8th place, we said. Yeah, I heard Justin say. So with his championship rival still looking at a podium, Charlie Fair up there. What about Volker Krebs, who has been Mr. Excitement today? Chris Costas trying to make a move, but not able to make it stick.
Yeah, not been able to find a way around. Oh, that's going to make it stick, though. Krebs just slid around, and Costas drove around the long ring, no issue for the sewing machine. Oh, well, that's a big issue. The car just didn't turn because it was on that outside line for Costas, and even though Krebs opened the door, he couldn't get that preferred line, and it just sailed on him in the rain.
And that allows Jeff Gardner to sneak by. Krebs now is defending a different car, actually, and he's gone a bit deep, it looks like. Is he going to actually make the corner? Yes, he does. I thought for sure he was going for a ride for a moment.
Krebs is very lucky to still be holding on to 11th spot right now. Whether it's the contacts, whether it's the slides, I think he's going to lose that pretty soon. Gardner now just had a mistake that cost him a chance to make a move this lap.
And so did Karachai off screen. So Karachai in the 78 falls to 5th as Andrew Long gets a position. Krebs still here with Gardner breathing down his neck, and Costas as well. In fact, look behind them. That's Stern, Kasian, Albuhaka. He's backing up quite a train.
Yeah, and the saying goes, the more cars you add to the train, more aggressive it is. Already Krebs significant back bumper damage from one send already. Costas already dealing with some left side damage. Have Jarza Kasian just trying to find some clean pockets right now. Albuhaka's already been bounced around a little bit this race. A lot of different storylines have popped up, but this is the home stretch now for the race. Under 3 minutes to go.
Yep, we just got the 2 to go signal for Jeremy Hall, who crossed the start-finish line shortly ago. Brian Stern is dealing with the white and orange here of Chad Kasian behind them. Cars fan out to try and find some visibility here coming down the hangar straight, but doesn't look like we'll see any change of position amongst them.
I don't think we're going to see a change yet either, unless Kasian's got a great run. He's got a great run, it looks like. Got the outside mark to be able to get alongside Stern, but Stern's got that defensive alignment instead on Kasian.
Keep him at bay, at least this time. This is going to be a tense last lap or two here for Brian Stern as well. You got to say for Volker Krebs, who's still dealing with Gardner. Look at this. Gardner with a great run coming down through farm, has the inside down to Village here. If he can just outbrake Krebs, but he cannot. Krebs mighty into that right-hander.
Not bad there for the defense this time, but it's become a conga line of race cars, all built up behind Krebs. I don't know if this is going to last much longer. With it being the end of the race, people are just going to push the limits. Gardner's got a big boost of speed, trying to force it.
Wow. I'm really impressed with Krebs, honestly. Yes, he's made a few mistakes here and there, but I mean, look at how many cars he's keeping behind him at this stage. Certainly is having a mighty defense, and if he could just do it for a lap and a half more, he's got this 11th position.
I don't know if this is going to last. White flag already out on the racetrack here. Going to be the final time around for these drivers. Running out of time to play defense with all these cars being that much quicker than them. Gardner going a little bit more deeper into these corners compared to what Curbs is able to do.
Yeah, Gardner does seem to be aggressive. He seems to be pretty confident, but just isn't quite able to put himself where he needs to be, such as right here where Krebs seems to just kind of pull away middle of the Maggots and Beckett sequence. Now he's trying to break the slipstream a bit. Doesn't want to give any help to that car behind.
He tried it though. Gardner yet again not able to get alongside here. Clark going to reach zeros here. Oh, Gardner got a big boost. Krebs had us back out of the gas.
Gardner finally finds an opening. He's ahead, but now he's got to do the same thing that Krebs was doing. Oh, he's way better on the throttle. Look at him pull away out through club.
Great boost to be able to run away from the pack. It's now falling apart for Krebs. Everybody's got the crowbar out to peel away spots. Krebs just sent himself on nearly off the track as the leader's dominating.
Stern wanted to make it 3 wide, but he backed out of it. He wasn't trying to risk that coming into Abbey on the final lap. He wants to bring this one home, but my goodness, what a battle it is here. Remember, this is just for 12th spot now. Gardner's running away from this group. That time it is 3 wide down, and that's Casion sneaking the spot away.
Getting a little bit chaotic with this. Oh, Casion having to squeeze Stern off the racetrack. Opens the door. Abohaka had the momentum before the start of that corner complex to boost on by. Krebs also playing defense up the road as Abohaka runs the left side of the track to be able to clear.
2 positions in 1 lap there for Abohaka. Fantastic job, but we got to turn our attention to Jeremy Hall here. He's got 2 corners to go. Left through Vale and then back right through Club and to the line. Flawless victory here for the 060 of Jeremy Hall.
Dominating race for Jeremy. Ran away from the onset. Just outright controlled this one from start to finish.
Oh, and it's not over with this group. They're still giving us action. Krebs and Costas side by side on their way into there. Looks like Abohaka's lost the spot right back to Casion, who is in it, and he's not too far behind Costas and Krebs. What's going to happen in these final few corners? This is a cracking end.
This is going to be a bit wild here for Krebs to try and hold on with Costas. Costas trying one more lunge to see if he's got enough speed.
Looks to the outside as Krebs defends. Will he once again cover the inside? He leaves the door open just enough. Chris is going to get his foot through the door. They'll go wheel to wheel, down into Vale, up and over the curb for Costas. Will that cost him some time as Krebs tries to get the throttle down? It looks like he's got it. It is close, sneaking down the inside. Casion tries to get one. No, it is going to be Krebs in 12th, Costas 13th, Casion 14th, 15th for Abohaka and Stern at the back of that group in 16th. But man, everybody's heart rate in that pack has got to be through the roof.
Yeah, that was a lot of pressure building up at that time. That pack was extremely busy here as the rest of the field still finishing. We did have one driver fall a lap down, by the way. Jankowicz fell a lap down at the very end of this race. Everybody else, 29 cars, finishing on the lead lap. What an accomplishment.
Yeah, it's, I mean, a bit unfortunate that we lost one, but still impressive nonetheless as the last of them wrap it up and cross the start-finish line here at Silverstone. And only one DNF as well with Ward Preston. So again, I tip my hat to this group for a fantastic job in what is very difficult conditions. Kavanaugh and Mungia going to be among the last ones to cross the line today, and probably happy to see the other side of this race. Okay, so with that, let's go through a finishing order. Jeremy Hall, your winner over Jonathan Kuo. It was about 4 seconds, but Jeremy really had control of this for pretty much the entire time. Charlie Ferrer finishing with a third today in the end after it looked like Andrew Long might beat him to it, but Long had to settle for fourth. The McCarachai as well, slipping up near the end. Only a top 5 for our front row starter. Casey McDonald going from 12th to 6th. Nicely done. Aaron Sunday, only 7th for him. Estupinen actually finished where he started in 8th, but I think there was definitely more in the cards for him if he hadn't made a couple of errors. Marcel Eunice was 9th, and then Alan Owens, 31st to 10th.
Then Jeremy Gardner finished off in 11th. Walter Krebs had to fight hard just to hold on to 12th. Over Christopher Costas, Chad Casey finished off at 14th. Abel Hawken 15th. Brian Stern holds on to 16th where he started this race. Lee Binkley moves from 20th to 17th. Jeff Williams went for some slides, recovered to 18th. Jim Walsh and Kevin Orr, he was up front to start this race. Joe, he finishes back in 20th.
21st goes to Peter Yerxa with Carlos Lopez in 22nd. Jeremy Main, P22, then sees Jake Urbino behind him in 24th and Alice Ellison in 25th. Arnie Clayson, 26th for him, followed by Randy Lervold in 27th. Bit of a bad day, and even worse for Paul Cavanaugh, who was 28th. 29th goes to Mungia Drankovic, the only car lap down in 30th, and Ward Preston was 31st, the only DNF that didn't get to the finish of this one. I think we got a chance to chat with Jeremy Hall, so let's just pull him on in and see what he thought of this race. Jeremy, a gap of about 4 seconds at the end. Did you feel any pressure during the race, or was this all rather straightforward?
Oh, definitely not straightforward. Just trying to keep the tires on the tarmac most of the time. I definitely felt a little bit at the end, and I didn't get tires, so I was a little worried about tire wear, but just try to keep my pace consistent and hope.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I'm trying to find you on the point sheet. Have you raced in this class this season, or is this race 1 for you?
No. This is my, third or fourth race. I was, I think, 11th and then 6th the last event. But this is the best I've had. I don't know where the pace came from, but I'm happy about it.
You'll take it where you can get it. I mean, do you consider yourself a bit of a rainmeister, or does this surprise you?
Totally surprises me, because no, not at all. Yeah, I think I know Silverstone pretty well, and I like this track a lot, so I think that helped.
Always good to be visiting a track that you enjoy. Well, congratulations, Jeremy. Anybody you want to thank for the win?
Sponsors Motor Vault, DJ and everybody running the race, thank you guys so much, and PCA Sim Racing. It's a great time.
Good stuff there from Jeremy Hall, your victor today at Silverstone. Definite jump up in his finishing positions compared to previous in Series 13. Behind him, Jonathan Kuo with an excellent run. I believe Justin has caught up with him.
Yes, indeed. Jonathan Kuo coming away second spot tonight. How would you describe, first things first, how you felt your race went, being able to start up front, keep it up front, keep Charlie Ferrer at bay until the pit stop?
Yeah, Charlie was just pressuring me the last half of the race. I was getting scared. Pretty stoked to be up podium spot, second place. This is my second race after being class, so I'm pretty excited.
I was about to say, how has it been now being a part of PCA Sim Racing with you being one of the newcomers for these races?
I think it's pretty awesome. These guys are fast. They're really respectful on track, and I'm just looking forward to more races with them.
So overall now, how would you describe a rainy race like this, to battle the grip but also maintain speed? It seemed like you're slipping and sliding at some points.
Yeah, with Silverstone being wet, it's very tricky. It's hard to pass. I know in the early parts of the race, I was kind of being held up by Charlie, and I couldn't figure out a way to go faster in the sections that was faster to pass him. So I just ended up just being behind him and trying to maintain speed and trying to keep the slip in the minimum.
Well, John, once again, congratulations to the podium. Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
The PCA, of course, and you guys, and my sponsors, Honest Assembly. This is awesome. Thanks.
Congratulations once again on second.
Thank you very much.
Jonathan Kuo coming away in second spot here tonight. Again, as mentioned, one of the newcomers just the second race of the season. Charlie Ferrer came away in third, keeping the consistency. Here's to Joe.
Indeed, and we've been praising that consistency, Charlie. A second, and a third. But as a racing driver, how does it feel to be so close but not quite at the top of the podium?
Oh, Joe, it was an amazing race. Mehmet had a speed in the beginning. I do not know what happened to him. And then the first quarter was pretty clean for me. It was nice having Jonathan on me for a little bit. And then after I pitted, being on him, it made it a lot more fun in the race. So it was an incredible race. Everybody did extremely well.
Well, and Estupinan, your main rival here in the title fight currently, had a bit of a bad day, finishing down in 8th. Do you watch those things? Or are you paying attention to where the people you're fighting for points wind up?
I'm always intrigued, and I think at least the top 10 of us take it pretty seriously and want to pursue this. And it's just such an amazing group that we have in sport class. And I think all of us take it pretty seriously. So yeah, of course, I definitely watch it.
Well, we'll be watching at Road America, that another classic like Silverstone. Do you have good results there in the past?
Yeah, it's an incredible track. I'm personally one of my favorites and looking forward to it. But I'm sure everybody's, it's probably in everybody's top 5 track in America. So I'm definitely looking forward to it and excited for it not being a rain race, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm sure many are probably happy to get to some dry racetrack. Well, regardless, congratulations on your 3rd podium in Series 13.
Hey, Joe, always a pleasure. Thanks for all the broadcasters. You guys are amazing, and absolutely love PCA in the Sim League. So we look forward to the next one.
That was Charlie Ferrer, P3 today in the number 28 car, which is going to wrap us up. So we want to mention once again that we're going to be back for the Sports Series at Road America on March 12th. So make sure not to miss that, again, at 9 p.m. Eastern, as we always are. Beautiful, sunny Wisconsin for that race. Should be a fun one. But we've got one more rain race for you. Tomorrow night, February 27th, the Challenge class will be here at Silverstone to compete. A big thank you goes to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, as well as to our team tonight, Ramiro and Justin. And thank you for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Peak, and until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.